Okay, here we are. Alt.nerd.obsessive. Worst episode ever.
Hey everybody, welcome to Worst Episode Ever, a podcast for people who love The Simpsons by people who love The Simpsons about how much we hate The Simpsons. We're here trying to find which is the worst episode ever. My name is Dan.
My name is Jack.
Jack, how you doing this week?
Hi, thanks for asking. It's about time.
Well,
It's about time somebody reached out.
sometimes I have problems starting the show, and I thought that would be a good way is to just throw it right to you.
I'm good. I'm a little... I don't know what I am. A little something. We just had
gassy,
Popeyes.
a little hungry.
Yeah, we just had Popeyes.
Yes,
me,
we had
you, and
Popeyes.
I guess we're gonna introduce in a
Yes,
few
we
minutes.
are.
Yeah, I'm post Popeyes. Let's just put it that way.
Popeyes. That's a feeling we all know, clearly. Buy Popeyes chicken. Do it through We should have a link.
Can you buy Popeyes on Amazon? delivered
try
by the Amazon cats. Just, Popeyes, bro.
That's what they sound like.
Don't even if we lose money, please don't buy Popeyes on Amazon. I can't imagine it being.
I don't think you can. Maybe you could buy like spices. I don't know. Does Popeye sell spices?
Yeah. Popeyes has a very successful line of spices you can buy on Amazon.
Either way, whatever you do.
Don't use paprika if it's not Popeyes
Use
paprika.
paprika.
Popeyes Louisiana paprika. Bonafide paprika.
So this episode is getting well away from us. So we'll just cut it short. We'll say we're watching. What episode are we watching? Season 21's The Squirt and the Whale. Jack, have you seen this one?
I don't think so. I might have been watching it around this time, so maybe, but it doesn't sound familiar. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, this one.
I have no idea what it's about.
I have no idea what it's about either. It originally aired April of 2010, so pretty recent, and it's suggested by our guest, who we're going to bring on in a little bit. First, we're going to take a break, and before we even do that, if you have not seen this episode, you can do that on simpsonsworld.com, unless you don't live in America, in which case you're on your own, and if you want to buy something through Amazon, you go through wepodcast.com first, just click our Amazon banners, that helps us out, keeps the podcast free, possibly you buy your Popeyes brand paprika there.
Before we move on to the rest of the episode, by the way, the Six Spice Girl was clearly Popeye Spice. It's like, I'm sporty. Yeah, I'm sporty. I'm ginger.
Whoa!
So tell me what you want. What you really want. It's spinach. Because I'm Popeye. And I'm also Spice Girl.
The voice went away from you.
This would be a lot funnier if I could do a good impression of Popeye.
Yeah.
But I'm not the voice guy. I'm not the accent guy.
I'm here with the Spice Girls and I get cut.
But yeah, you can imagine.
My life is Joey Gladstone's. So, all right.
That's what we all aspire to. By the way, your woodchuck puppet is very distracting.
Let's start off. What? All right, we're taking a break. We're going to lose our minds today. We're going to watch a Squirt and a Whale. Taking a break. You should do it too. We'll be back.
Pop-rika.
Don't worry, honey. Right now, she's lying on God's beach.
She doesn't like lying on the beach. She likes being in the ocean.
Oh, Lisa, I'm sorry. I tried my best. I know it's really hard when you discover your dad isn't perfect.
Not perfect. You can say that again.
I'm trying to be a sensitive father, you unwanted moron!
So, that was The Squirt and the Whale.
It sure was, Jack.
Before we get into that, let's introduce our guest. You may know him from last week
You
when
may.
he was on before. And,
That's right.
And from his own
coming
podcast,
back.
Harry Says Yes. Welcome, Harry Nelson. How's it going, Harry?
Oh, it's great, guys. Thanks for having me
Thanks
again.
for coming back. We thought maybe we'd give you another shot since we pretty much talked over you the entire time last week.
I'm looking forward to that happening.
Anyway,
All right,
so
anyway, yeah. So,
look at the chemistry here.
guys, we should be recording this, and like people should listen to this. I think they would enjoy it.
Good idea.
What's funny is, kind of like you said, you're the guest and we're the host, so you were okay with taking a second seat. But when we were on your show, we pretty much did the same thing, and just didn't give you a word in edgewise.
No, I mean, I'm a very generous host on
You
my
are.
podcast.
Well, we're not. We're tyrants. We rule We Studios with a golden iron fist.
So before we get
How do you
into
think that little ghost girl died?
Grooficator,
Well, who told Goofy to eat her? You did, actually. You son of a bitch. That blood is on your hands.
Your golden hands.
Your golden hands.
The episode, real quick, we'll just go over it. Homer is trying to save money on electricity, so he gets a wind turbine, which, you know what, that has nothing to do with anything. The storm hits Springfield and beaches a whale, and Lisa becomes very attached to this beached blue whale during the rescue efforts. Unfortunately, the rescue efforts fail and the whale dies. Breaks Lisa's heart.
It's a bummer. It's a sad moment, actually. We'll talk about it, but
it breaks Lisa's heart, and basically she has to deal with the death and the remorse of that situation, and she kind of comes to terms with it. Mainly at the end when she and Homer try to kill some sharks that are threatening the whale's babies, but a Greenpeace type movement convinces Lisa that sharks are animals too. And
they are.
And then she gets over death, I guess. She's 8 years old and she's learned the hard knocks.
That's right.
Yep.
So
all right, great episode, guys. Next week.
Thanks for being here, Harry. Appreciated the insightful commentary. Each way.
The actual episode begins with a film trailer for Tic-Tac-Toe X vs. O.
Yeah, like a big CGI,
like a big budget,
modern blockbuster.
Yeah, sci-fi version of Tic-Tac-Toe. Harry, you're our guest. What did you think of this little sequence?
I thought it was fun. They had they packed full of puns.
There was a lot of puns.
It was real dumb, but I mean, it was like supposed to be making fun of a dumb movie, so I give them the benefit of the doubt that it was like supposed to be
like Battleship and all the crappy movies that they were and were gonna make out of games.
There's some puns where I was like, that's funny because it's making fun, it's satirizing modern blockbuster culture.
Yeah.
And there were some puns where like, oh, that's a classic, post-classic Simpson shit. So like, for example, she goes, tic-tac, no!
Yeah. That one I didn't love so much.
That's terrible, because that's not really a line that would be in a Transformers Michael Bay movie. Whereas the catchphrase, like, then you have the narrator, the announcer go, this summer, it's your move.
Yeah,
and
I like that.
That's
was
something
funny.
that I would totally see with like a Battleship type movie or something.
I also liked that the romantic leads of the movie, it was Romeo and Julie X.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny. I guess you didn't, because you gave me a pitying look. Like, you stupid bastard, how could you like that?
It's clever if you're going to do a tic-tac-toe movie. I do like the idea of like the X's being the Montagues and the O's being the Capulets.
Oh, yeah.
What did I say? The Montagues?
The Montagues and the Montagues. wait. This could probably be cut, but I like that you made that point, and then you just did this. Like you looked off, like you were contemplating what had just happened while you sipped your beer.
Well, I'm really embarrassed. I just saw Romeo and Juliet in the park on Friday.
Right, yeah.
Because a friend of mine was in it in Bryant Park, and I'm pretty sure after the show I was talking to him in the cast for like 20 minutes. I'm pretty sure I said Montagues.
Nice.
And now I'm trying to remember if I was saying. I'm pretty sure I was saying Montague. But I can't remember now. Now I really can't. My memory is like my paranoia has taken over my memory. I can't remember what I was saying the whole time.
Harry, what do you think about this?
I think he's a dummy.
There you go.
I was saying Montauk the whole time.
Harry says you're a dum-dum. That's your new podcast coming this fall.
Also, did you notice in the beginning of the very first shot of the Tic-Tac-Toe, it's Bart and Lisa watching from the living room.
Yeah.
And the first shots of the movie are seen out, like you see the TV and you watch it in the frame.
Yeah.
Those shots, it looked like it was CGI. It wasn't animated. It looked like Futurama.
It was probably, that like cell-shaded 3D
which
kind of thing. That
you
Futurama
don't really
did.
see very often in The Simpsons, even in the later years.
I feel like they have been doing it more recently. Like they definitely used it in the Man Who Came to Be Dinner, which was I think the most recent episode that we've watched.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so that's what I thought was interesting, and then but it was especially since they do it for a couple of seconds. It's the shot of the X ship and the O ship coming in together.
Right.
But then when they cut to full screen and now you're kind of in the movie, they stopped doing it. Probably for money reasons. I don't know.
Who knows? But I overall liked the tic-tac-toe thing. It sounds like you guys are a little bit divided.
The website at the end of it was tictactoetheterriblemovie.com.
Yeah, I saw that. That was good. I like that. And then Homer comes in and he unplugs the TV. That's how we get out of the movie trailer thing. He's upset because the electric bill is so high, and he unplugs a lot of things. And unplugs the TV.
He's talking about vampire power, which is a thing that everybody was saying right around the time of this episode, and I think it's kind of not.
Yeah. Well, it is a thing. Like all your devices, like your Wii or your PlayStation that are plugged in, there's Phantom Vampire Drain. It's called.
Right, but I feel like I haven't been reading it. Like I feel like back then it was in every other tech article.
Yeah,
and now it's not as much. It's not.
Some things fall into
relevant.
vogue.
Yeah.
And then fall out of vogue and fall into Cosmo. Women's magazine references. That's what you guys are listening for.
We're having a lot of fun here today on the podcast.
We're having so much fun. Oh,
All right,
man.
settle down, Harry. You know what?
So I haven't talked too much.
But anyway, there's a couple of funny things where there's like an old-timey projector that's just shining on nothing, and the reel is kind of just spinning.
Yeah.
He's like, how long has this been on? And the kids are like, I don't know.
Yeah, and he had a Jacob's Ladder running.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty good. I like
Yeah,
that.
it was not bad.
And then out of nowhere, I almost said Lisa. That's my sister-in-law. Lisa is just like, well, what about this? And she pulls out a brochure for Alternative Energy Expo, which happens to be like the next day.
Yeah, and she happened to have the brochure in her hand.
See, that kind of thing I'm kind of okay with.
Yeah,
like that
fine.
lazy-ish, like, oh, how about this thing that's exactly like what you were talking about? It happens to be tomorrow.
Yeah,
Whatever.
fine.
It's the first minute of the episode.
Because it's not, even though it's a hell of a coincidence, it's not breaking any sort of rules of the
Right.
reality that they've established.
And ultimately, this episode is not about alternative energy. It's about a whale and about Lisa and the whale.
It reminds me of the Simpsons joke. Like, good thing you turned on the TV when you did. I didn't turn on the TV.
Well, in any case, turn it off. It is off.
And then I think they play like X-Files music.
So they're going to go to this alternative energy expo. Lisa sells Homer on it, and then they're like, everyone get into the car. And it's weird. They do this shot from outside the house. Homer says...
It's like a wide shot. It's like the point.
It's a
as
really
if the
wide
camera
shot,
would be
yeah.
across the street in front of
Right,
the Bush
yeah.
house.
Like you can see the whole street, you can see their whole house and all of Flanders' house. And Homer says something like, okay, we can't let the burglars know we're not home, so they turn on all the lights and all their Christmas lights.
Yeah,
I
so
assume
every
it's
light
not
on
Christmas
every
time.
light on the inside's out. All the blinking Christmas. It's very loud. That's why they did the wide shot, so you really see
Yeah,
the
so you
house
could
just
see-
explode in light.
Right,
yeah.
and that no one else has Christmas lights or
Right,
anything
right.
like that. But they do like a weird extra beat. It's not even like a joke extra beat. It's
was
just
weird.
like Marge is like, okay, everyone get into the car, and we see from like this far angle, everyone get into the car and pull away.
Yeah, and it's not just Marge. It's Marge saying, "Okay, all right, everybody, okay, come on."
Yeah.
It's like she's like pushing everybody in the
Like
car.
there was no
the whole
joke.
time.
It was literally just Marge putting the kids in the car.
Yeah, which is, I guess, a realistic thing that, you know, your mom's always trying to get you in the stop Dolan, get
My
in the
mom
car.
is always trying to get me in the
Me-
car. And
Me-
I'm like, Mom, I don't even own a car.
Meffrey Mulhall
Meffrey.
does not want
Ease
you
up
not
on
in
the
a car. No, so I mean, but you're right. What was the point? Harry, help us out here.
I think.
Help us out, Harry. We're
Guys,
looking to you for
calm
advice.
down, guys. I got it for you.
Look, he's dropping his notes.
I'm so flustered.
He dropped his notes.
You guys are mean.
dropped all the papers.
Well, the word after that is the snake joke. Where
Right.
Snake,
Well, after
I
Snake
think it
comes
was
in
just so
after
that it
that.
was one long thing, so they didn't cut it all. Maybe
So
that
Was it supposed to be Snake's point of view? Like he's watching them?
Well, no,
leave
because
the
Snake
house?
pulls
He
into
pulls
frame.
in, right,
I guess
right.
it's what you were talking about last week, Jack, where you were saying like they do this setup,
Mm-hmm.
a long setup for a quick punchline. Although the punchline wasn't that quick because it's just Snake comes in, he pulls into the frame, and he's like, "Ah, do they think I'm stupid?" And he's like, "I'm gonna poop on their rug or something," which I thought was fun and
Yeah.
not characteristic
I
of
mean,
Snake.
That is a classic extra beat alarm because the joke was, let's leave the lights on so the burglars think we're home, which
Yeah.
a lot of people do. And then he has like all those excessive lights. That's the joke. Then
Right.
having the burglars show up and go, "Oh, I know they're not home." That is the epitome of what we say when we say extra beat.
I
Because
don't think so. Having him show up.
I think if the joke would have ended with just the Christmas lights on, just like, all right, well, let's put the lights on so they don't think we're home. Vroom, and now the Christmas lights are on, and it's just loud and garish. You end the scene there. That's a strong button to end
You
the
could
scene.
do that, but I think having Snake show up is fine. It's just they spent so much time on it. It should have been like, okay, everyone get in the car. Like, let's turn on the lights so the burglars know we're home. So then you see them pulling out and the Christmas lights are on, and maybe like as soon as they pull out, like Snake's car pulls right in or something.
That's
That
actually
could've been
funny.
good.
Yeah,
That's
if,
what I
if
thought was
Snake
gonna
just
happen.
pulls into the garage
Yeah.
like a van and a bunch of burglars
Yeah.
get out.
That
That's
would've-
funny.
yeah.
Again, I don't know what any of this has to do with Marge rushing them into the car. I don't know.
know.
What
That was just a weird.
Harry, come on, give us some.
Harry,
Moms
we got-
love cars.
Moms love cars. There you go. That's the title of the episode.
Yeah, so they go to this expo, and it's a bunch of different booths pushing different kinds of alternative energy.
Right. Like the first
which
was like
is-
sweetgrass fuel and
Yeah.
corn oil. And
Funny
they, like,
is
fight
they've
each other.
actually had this same expo way back in season 5 when Homer and Mindy were representing nuclear power.
Oh, yeah,
and
you're
it kind
right.
of gives you an idea of how different the show is now and then because of the different, like the jokes then were
Yeah.
basically everybody hated nuclear power and were like
Right.
they were throwing garbage or bricks at him or whatever.
Yeah, they're
And
like,
now-
"Go to hell." Yeah.
Now this one has gags like, well, the first gag is the wheatgrass versus the corn
Right, which was
ethanol.
whatever,
That's
it's
fine.
fine.
That's kind of relevant.
Basically, two farmers just
Yeah.
start fighting each other.
But the next one's burp power, and it's Barney just burping on a skateboard and using that to propel
Yeah.
himself. Then there's kid power with Ralph running a bunch of circles. just like if you're gonna like The Simpsons, we were just talking even last week with the pharmaceutical companies. The Simpsons does institutional satire very, very well. So a Power Expo is a great place to do that. Again, in the season 5 episode, they do a great job with nuclear power being this huge hated,
like the pariah at the expo. Yeah,
and like this one was just these are just dumb gags. The burp power and the kid power.
Burp power was just like that's a thing. Like Barney does burp.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you put him on a skateboard, he would probably move from the force of the burp.
Did you guys catch Mr. Burns out front of that holding
No.
a sign? He
did
was
not.
out in front of the expo. It said like "unfair to earth poisoners" or something. With the sign.
Oh, that's right, because it's
Cute.
an alternative. I guess technically it's not the same as the one from season 5.
Well, nuclear power is an alternative, isn't it?
I guess
maybe
at
it
this
was
point it's
more so then.
graduated. I don't know. I did like the meta joke where after the kid power and the burp power, which I think was completely unfunny. Homer goes, "Now on to the next funny booth."
I'm surprised to hear you say that you like that. You usually don't like those things.
No, I don't mind the meta jokes
No,
when
you
they
usually
break
don't
the.
like those things. I know you better than you know yourself.
You're right.
No, yeah, it was a very meta thing. What do you think of it, Harry?
I liked it.
Yeah, all right, I liked it too. I didn't think you would, but you did. So let's move on.
Yeah, so they end up getting wind power. They get the wind turbine. They get one big wind turbine installed in their backyard.
Yeah.
And Homer's patting himself on the back for being green, and he says, he's a regular Al Gore. Where's my Grammy nomination for spoken word? Or
best
whatever?
spoken
Yeah.
audiobook.
What did you guys think of that line?
You know, every once in a while they just do a line like that where I get it and I'm completely unfazed and I forget about it as soon as it's over.
I feel like these types of jokes that they do the joke is how uber specific it is,
Yeah.
right? Is that
Yeah,
what
I
they're going
guess,
for?
yeah.
I think so.
I don't know how I feel about that. Sometimes I like it, and sometimes I don't. So I don't really. I always try to look for a pattern of why I'm responding to something some way, and why
Yeah.
I'm not. And I don't know. It kind of stumps me.
It's just like, this is a somewhat obtuse reference that some people won't get, but many people will. Just things that are happening in the world, with Al Gore winning things for an inconvenient truth.
That's the name of the episode.
Good succinct episode. It's better than I've seen better penises. A Simpsons podcast.
You've seen better. I've seen better penises.
I have. The I've Seen Better Penises podcast. The non-Simpsons one.
Yeah, that's a video podcast. It's pretty good.
It's pretty good. I dare you to see a better penis podcast.
Just make sure you're using widescreen. Make sure. So this wind power thing, and we'll get into it, but it's basically one of the classic non sequitur first acts that don't quite really have anything to do with the rest of the plot. It's just a means to an end. Not even a means to an end. It just kind of happens. Do you think the fact that they picked wind power and this whole idea of being green, and then the big story is Lisa with this whale, which is also an environmentalist green kind of thing. Do you think that's a coincidence that they're both kind of green environmentalist vaguely, or was that explicitly connected, even though the connections have nothing to do with each other?
I don't know. I wonder if they're like, you know what, we should do like a Lisa episode. What is Lisa like? Wind.
And whales.
And whale.
Done.
So like maybe they started, I don't know. Like they're both kind of Lisa-y, and it was a very
Yeah.
Lisa-heavy episode, but that's really
Definitely.
the only connection I can find in them.
I do think it was kind of planned out that way, like to have a lot of, not so much environmental issues, but I guess a theme of Lisa things, I suppose.
Yeah.
I mean,
For lack of a better term.
Well, jumping ahead just a little bit. The proper story starts off with the beach whale. Starts off when a bad storm hits Springfield.
Right.
Really.
Well, it's a windstorm. It was a tornado.
But the them getting the wind turbine had nothing to do
Yeah.
with the storm started. The storm. I mean, technically, Bart prayed for wind, and you could argue that Bart.
true.
Oh yeah, there you go.
God.
There you go, you just did it.
But we
Just
all-
argued it.
I know, but we know that there's no such thing as God, and that prayers are
Right.
useless. So moving on
Not
from
the
that.
Simpsons can. The God exists
No,
in the
I know.
Simpsons.
That's true. And he has
So
5
I
fingers.
guess that's it. I guess God is the connecting force here.
It was not like a kind of thing where them getting the wind turbine led directly
Right.
into the whale plot, where.
I mean,
but
this-
that didn't bother me. I
I'm not
liked
saying it bothered
the structure
me.
of this
I'm not saying
episode a
it
lot,
bothered me.
actually.
I'm just saying that technically the episode could have started right from the storm, and it would be exactly the same. So the fact that the wind turbine had nothing to do with the story means that really they could have done any weird non sequitur for. They're always doing
Yeah.
like weird non sequitur acts that have nothing to do with the main story. It's just
Right.
It's just kind of the first act. So that being said, if you can just do whatever you want, is it a coincidence that this has to do with an environment, or is it not?
I don't think it is a coincidence. And what I liked most about the structure of this episode was that it was the first act is basically all this wind power plot, and the way that ends is what begins the new plot, the whale plot, because you have the big windstorm. That's what beaches the whale. That's what I think it destroyed their wind turbine, right?
You see like a shot.
So that was like the end of that plot.
Again, yeah.
It never comes back, but now the whale has happened, and that was like the tornado was the inciting incident for that, but also the denouement of the wind power storyline.
It's actually do
was
know
the end
me
of-
and know.
Do know me, I know. So yeah, I liked it. I really liked the structure overall of this episode, and I do think it was intentional that they did wind power into another environmental type thing.
Same.
All right.
Done. So they've set up the power, and they play, like they often do, they do a popular music song, like a quick montage of things.
In this case-
it was Electric Six's Danger High Voltage, which a song that we both like.
Very
I think.
catchy song. Yes.
Yeah, I'm a bit.
I like it too, guys.
Was and am. Well, I didn't ask your opinion, Harry.
Try to chime in. Harry Nelson here.
HarrySaysYes.com.
Yeah, check it out.
Harry says too much. That's great.
No, but I know I'm an Electric Six fan. I'm pretty sure you are. I had no idea what your opinions of Electric Six were. I was
wanna
gonna
hear them?
ask you, but I would love to hear them now.
Good stuff, right?
There you go. And I forget what the first thing in the montage was, but I know the second one was Bart and Lisa are playing Wii, although it said Z.
Yeah. So
ZII.
they've had the Nintendo Wii.
That's been a thing.
In several episodes, and like Cosmic Wars and Maple.
Right, Maple.
They just do Z instead of Wii, and we don't know why.
For whatever
because,
reason.
In the olden days, they totally played Nintendo and Super Nintendo, the actual names of the products.
Well, they would mention them, but they wouldn't show them. There's probably a difference. I don't know. What
You're- aren't you-
am I, some kind of lawyer
You
who
are,
does this
you
stuff?
are a copyright lawyer.
Don't
working
worry about it.
entertainment.
Don't worry about that. In fact, cut all of this. But the gag is that wasn't the gag that the wind stopped and the TV went off, and so
Yeah.
their game was stopped in the middle.
They're
and
living intermittently.
Yeah.
Oh, right, that
They
was
went
the
off
setup,
the grid
yeah.
because
So-
they didn't want to give the power
Right.
company energy.
Right, so the
Yeah.
montage is things happening, and then the power goes out, and how they deal with it.
Basically, whenever the wind stops, they have no power, and that's
Right.
what life's like. In general, I actually like this montage. Usually, I always complain about the montages on the episodes we
Yeah, I
cover.
liked it too, actually.
I like it for a few reasons. For one, it's actual montage in that it goes on for longer than 6 seconds. The song does fit. The song is a little on the nose, but the energy of the song fits the montage.
Yeah.
The scenes, not only is it the montage itself, not just like 2 or 3 really quick clips like the montages we usually cover, but each clip does something a little bit different. It's fully formed. Each works as like an individual unit, so you have them playing Wii tennis.
Yep.
With the power out, they find fun in just smashing each other.
Right,
in
they
the
just
heads
start
with their
beating
mouse.
each other, which I thought was very violent, but I still
Yeah,
liked
it. The sound design was very violent.
Yeah.
You have them on the inflatable castle, and they're having fun
right,
jumping on
yeah.
the castle. And when that deflates, but then it inflates again, but now they're very uneasy about jumping.
Yeah, I really like them cautiously jumping
Yeah,
on the
that
bouncy
was good.
castle.
Yeah, the cautiously jumping was great. So each there's
Well,
another.
my personal favorite, I think, was Marge was putting her lipstick on, and then the power goes out, and she smeared it all over her cheek, and Homer just comes by and kisses her cheek instead of her lips, and then just walks away.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny.
So each one's doing a different gag on the same premise, on the same setup.
Right.
So that's how you do one of these montages. And
Yep.
for the most part, every time we see a montage on an episode we cover on the show, or my other 9 podcasts,
I gotta listen to these other 9 podcasts. I don't have time.
Yeah, you don't have this.
I'm still listening to Serial.
They're all the same.
Did Adnan do it or not? I don't know.
Timely reference, guys.
So
It's still October 2014, right? We're all talking about Serial.
I'm not alone here, right? The montage was
Yeah,
solid.
the montage was
Yeah, I
great.
liked it.
And the last bit of the montage was Homer was cutting a piece of wood in a
buzzsaw.
a bandsaw, yeah. And then what happens? He like fell asleep on it or something.
Like the lights go out and then
the lights go out, he falls asleep, and then it comes back on, and the board starts getting cut again, and his head's getting closer and closer and closer to the bandsaw, and then it's like match cut right away to Marge making a smoothie.
I feel like in the olden days, the classic era of Simpsons, they would cut right before the saw hit his head. This one, it goes about an inch into his
did it?
head.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
It starts carving into his skull pretty brutally.
Okay, I don't
and then
like that. I
they do,
totally
and then they do a
missed
great
that.
graphic match cut.
Yeah.
Graphic in the sense that visual and graphic in that it was very graphic.
Yeah, but it was also like the same exact spot in the frame, like where Homer's head was where the blender was, and it was pink, and it was strawberries,
and it was
berries
being emulsified into pink goo. It was really kind of dark,
I
but it was great.
That. I loved the animation on it. I thought it was really, really well done.
It was very clever.
I didn't remember him actually getting the blades into his head. But
yeah, no, it goes. I was like, I was waiting to see how far they would take it, and took it pretty far.
Yeah. Harry, you were going to make a great point.
Oh well.
No pressure.
Just that time in that episode of The Simpsons we were watching earlier.
Oh yeah, I know that one.
So the power stops going out all the time, and they're like, "How'd you do that?" And it turns out that Homer had hooked up a bunch of fans to Flanders's electricity outlets.
Yeah.
And was powering the wind turbine that way. And Lisa's like, "You can't do that because it defeats the whole purpose."
Right, you're just stealing electricity from Flanders. And Flanders comes out and he's like, I don't appreciate your fan club. Which is an okay line. That's something Flanders would say.
Yeah, it's corny pun. I don't get anything out of it, but fine, whatever. But the extra beat.
The extra beat was then Homer is like, but we haven't read the minutes from last week's meeting.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I didn't like
So,
that at all.
like, is that your snarky, sarcastic response, or did at
Or
some point...
did you suddenly believe that this is actually a fan club and there are minutes and some sort of board?
It really doesn't work.
Yeah, no, it was no great.
I did like when Flanders left, Homer was like, "You used to be nicer."
Yeah.
That was funny, yeah, I like that.
So, like we said, the wind turbine really could have not happened because the storm was probably going to hit anyway, unless it did happen from Bart praying. So a tornado, I guess, hits, or nor'easter. I think it was a straight up twister.
I think on the news they showed an image of a tornado, but it was some sort of heavy windstorm.
Hits
through Springfield, yeah.
Which has happened before.
There was a hurricane
in Springfield.
It's true. Yeah, there was a part where I don't even remember if it was a specific character. It may have just been like a generic Springfielder who comes out and he's like, well, the lesson here is, and then he's just hit by a tree immediately after this.
Wasn't there a setup to it?
The tire fire went out.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, right, that was it. Yeah, it was the owner of the tire fire. It goes out and then it gets reignited.
Yeah, he's like, oh, thank God, the tire fire is finally out after all these years.
Right, and then it gets reignited and he's like, well, the lesson here is, and then he gets hit by a tree that's being blown through the wind. I liked it.
Yeah.
It's funny. Random violence on strangers is what makes me laugh. I don't know about you guys. Every night I just go out and beat up a couple of strangers.
By the way, Dan is actually the Joker.
My name is Patrick Bateman, and I have to go return some videos.
Dad, you are leading the way in clean energy.
Yep, I outgored it pretty good. Where's my Grammy for audiobook narration?
And then they reach the beach, and that is when the whale plotline begins. There's a beached whale on the beach, and I thought it looked really fantastic. Like the animation of the whale looked good. Do you guys agree? Or
Yeah.
It was detailed. It wasn't cartoony. It wasn't like a cartoon.
no,
whale.
it was as realistic as The Simpsons can be animating a whale.
Yeah.
So it was good. I liked it. I think that helps bring the heart to the episode in what comes, like the whale being an actual,
I mean,
looking like an actual whale.
I have a huge, like, everybody's got a soft spot for animals. Everybody loves animals. I'm very attached to animals.
You physically have animals on you right now. It's weird.
Yeah, no, I guess, like, you know, everybody loves puppies and dogs and everything, but, you know, there are some people who are like actually like animal lovers, like take it a little too far. I would classify myself as one of those people where
Feel like
you
a
know,
bestialist?
I literally have to stop and pet like every dog on the sidewalk, and you know, I'm just one of those people. So this
I think
entire
that's called having a crippling OCD. I have to stop and pet every dog.
7 times.
Yeah.
7 times forward, 7 times backward.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, I have trouble like killing my, you know, if I have rodents or whatever. I really
Yeah, no, I don't even like. I've gotten so bad I don't kill like spiders.
Bugs, yeah, no, I won't kill bugs. I try not to. Sometimes I will just, and like I'll just swallow it deep down into my pit and just be like, all right, I murdered that spider. I'm just gonna move on.
Yeah.
But anyway,
We're bleeding hearts.
In general, this episode I found very moving and
I agree.
Emotionally. It was hard to watch. I was really pulling for the whale to make it, and it was.
Spoiler alert: it does not.
It does not.
It's in fact exploded an X-ray.
And just seeing the whale suffering on the beach, it was hard to watch in a good way. In that the show really, like you said, between the animation and the way and the maturity they dealt with handling the scene, you really do just feel for this poor creature. That's like, again, thank God, not real. Although I'm sure this happens every day. I just don't like to think about it.
It does happen, but whales do get
it makes me
beached.
feel a little bit better that this particular whale does not exist and did not die.
Yeah.
And that everything is okay.
But this episode, being such a later season episode, this is season 21. This is only 6 years ago. The way they handle it is very well done. Like it's not like gag, 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 gag. Like there's actually a very emotional through line to this entire
I would
episode.
venture to say I was shocked, not just surprised, shocked at how mature they handled the
Exactly,
whole
I
sequence.
agree. So thank Harry for bringing it to the attention
Thank
of the
you,
podcast.
Harry, for
No
bringing
problem.
it
Sometimes
to
we
the
like to watch
episode.
good episodes.
Yeah, it was when I saw this one a while ago, and when I heard about the podcast, I was like, I want them to do this episode because
Yeah.
it was actually a pretty good one, and I didn't think that I would be here while we did it, but hey,
So
That's how the universe goes sometimes.
I
Sometimes
prayed on top of a windmill. So.
That's right. That'll do it.
They immediately establish the severity of the scene, that this whale needs to get back in the water and that it's in danger of dying, and they also establish right away through Lisa that it's a beautiful, magnificent creature and that it would be a
and that it
horrible
has
shame if it has
feelings,
to die.
it's a mammal.
So they really do a great job just setting it up and then the rest of the episode throughout. That said, I think the way they handled Bart in this... sequence was unfortunately immature. Like, I get that Bart's character, he would be a little bit more flippant about the situation,
Right.
but I felt like it was tonally off with the rest of the scenes
Yeah.
with Lisa. Like, the first thing Bart does is like start skiing or ice skating rather on the skin of the whale.
Right, and then he's running on its back and falls into the blowhole.
He does armpit
I don't like
farts
that.
with the fin. I just, again, it's not necessarily out of character for Bart, although I would think that, Bart's, especially in like episodes like Bart the Mother and
Yeah.
episodes with the dogs, Bart's shown capacity for compassion and empathy for animals. So I wouldn't say necessarily that it's in character for Bart, but it just, even if it was how Bart would react, story-wise and tonal-wise, you don't want to be showing that back-to-back with Lisa. I guess if you're going into trying to show the contrast...
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's a kind of a contrast. But Bart's not a major part of the episode. Like, it's not a Bart versus Lisa type
Yeah.
episode.
I guess it just made
A
Bart
Homer
really
Lisa episode.
unlikable, didn't
Yeah.
it? Like,
Well-
I was kind of disgusted with him, the way this poor dead creature's dying, and he's,
And he's just running on top
Yeah.
of its soon-to-be corpse.
Yeah, I don't know.
When you put it that way, it does sound kind of
Like
dark.
the people of Springfield blowing it up with TNT. That was brutal and hard to watch, but hard to
Well,
watch.
but at least it was dead.
It makes
It was dead at
well,
that
not
point.
only that, it's the people of Springfield. That's what they do. They're boorish and crass, and they blow up.
Well, that's
blow up
what
innocent creatures.
you do when
Yeah,
a
no, I know,
beach
but,
whale
but the
dies.
way they did it.
Well, yeah, we'll get to that scene.
But that makes sense. Whereas you don't really want to see Bart. I don't know. I don't want to see Bart be so unlikable and
like almost cruel to an animal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't think of it that way, but you're right. I mean, in the moment, you don't know what's going to happen with this whale. Like you said, you're kind of
Right.
pulling that it is going
I
to get
was
back
really
into
hoping
the
it was
ocean.
gonna make it.
It doesn't, so
I
it is darker
I
in
vaguely
retrospect.
remember seeing this episode. But
Okay.
really, the only thing I remember is the tic-tac-toe. And then
Yeah.
I vaguely remember that in general, the whale plot. I didn't remember if it was going to live or die. Mm-hmm. But I had a sneaking suspicion they were going to go there.
Yeah. Well, they went there.
Yeah.
So Lisa goes over to the bullies who just kind of happen to be on the beach, and she's like, I need help with this whale. Like, you got to keep it wet. And they help her because I guess the bullies do have somewhat of a soft side. But there was a line I liked where Milhouse was also there, and Kearney goes up to him and is like, hey, Milhouse, you want to learn more about whaling? And he's like, okay. And he just starts beating him, like wailing on him. I thought that was funny.
That was good. And then he goes... he follows it up with, you want me to knock it off? And Milhouse sees it coming, and he's like, I don't know how to answer that. I'm afraid
I'm afraid how to answer that. He goes, never tell a bully you're afraid. And just starts beating him again. That was good.
So she does get the people to try to get the whale out.
Well, she goes home and talks to Marge and Homer. Something else that I liked in this episode was that Marge and Homer are home dealing with the repercussions of the tornado or whatever it was. Like, all the dishes have been broken, and they make an okay joke about that. But I just liked that, we're keeping the consistency from Act 1. Like,
Sidebar.
sidebar. I'll allow it. I'll approach the bench.
They make a joke about how the Thanksgiving china, the nice china, was broken, so now they're going to have to eat Thanksgiving dinner on the regular plates, like a bunch of hobos or whatever the line was.
Yeah.
I found that funny because growing up, we had a special set of plates and silverware, these fancy red plates and this gold silverware that we only used on Thanksgiving because out of all the holidays and special occasions, that was the only one we even had at our house. So literally we used the stuff once a year. And when I moved out and got my own apartment, and my mom was retiring and moving down south, she didn't need the extraneous silverware, so we just took it. So for like 2.5 years now, I've just been eating like all my like Pop-Tarts and dumb food off like this
fancy silverware.
And
nice.
and all our gold silverware that we have, it's like all like the gold plating or whatever. Like it's not real gold. Like whatever the paint is on it, it's all washing off from overuse, and it's really weird. It's very like I don't know. I feel like I'm like living in like Fallout 4 or something.
It's an analogy for your life. It's falling apart. The gold is falling off.
Every time like I just eat like a slice of pizza with a taco on it, like on this fancy.
Wait, what? You eat pizza with tacos on it?
Yeah.
How come you don't invite me over for taco pizza? I would love some.
So Lisa wants to save the whale, so she wants to get Homer's idea to save it was to get the town's strongest men to pull it out.
Yeah.
And they get a bunch of men who
It was mostly just the drunks from Moe's. It was Homer, it was Barney, it was like, I forget what his name is, but one of the barflies who never really says anything in the background was there.
Yeah, they're just like wearing bandanas for something.
Bill, Sam and Bill.
Is that what their name? I don't know.
Barflies.
Lenny, I think, was one of the strongest men in town.
Was Topless Willie there?
Topless Willie. I don't remember if Willie was there. That would have made sense. Willie's probably the strongest man in town.
Yeah.
But anyway, he
looks great with his shirt off.
He sure does. Oh, baby.
Hold up. Oil it up.
Oh, man.
Grease me up.
This gives me the willies. Sorry, I had to. All right, and that's not working. Basically, all the strong men in town are trying to push the whale back into the water. It's not working, so then they get the smartest men in town. They do this weird thing where they're playing tug of war with their heads.
Yeah, at first I thought the joke was that they're pulling the whale with their heads. The idea being if they have the smartest and they have the biggest brains, then their heads are strong.
Right.
But no, they're playing tug of war.
I think it was just. I guess it was just to see who's better, the strong or the smart.
To see who should pull the whale.
Yeah,
I guess.
We have to find the smartest man in town. So the way to do that was to have everyone tug of war with their head.
So
it was kind of just. I kind of liked it, but it really was. It was weird because I don't entirely understand it.
Yeah, I did not like it. I was just confused more than anything. Yeah.
But then, even better than that was my favorite was they get all the tugboats. Like the sea captain and Homer have orchestrated all the tugboats to pull the whale, and they start pulling, and all of them break in half and just sink. That was great.
The visual of them all sinking in unison
at the same
was
time.
very
Yeah,
funny.
it's so good.
This was like a classic Simpsons kind of visual gag.
really, really well animated episode. I'm going to give it high marks in the production values.
Ooh, spoiler alert.
Spoiler for later in the podcast. But also, there's a really sweet moment where Lisa is reading Leaves of Grass to the whale. It reminded me of Lisa's Pony, where she's very much bonding with this animal, and it has the same kind of... It has a lot of the same beats as Lisa's Pony, because that was an episode where Homer was sacrificing himself to make Lisa happy, basically. And here... He's trying to help her, and he can't actually save this whale. It does ultimately die, but then he comes back later to save the whale's kids. I personally love, like, Homer-Lisa dynamic episodes. I'm pretty sure you guys do, too, right?
Yeah, they're okay.
Oh,
no, I'm just kidding.
Never mind.
Of course, they're great.
You suggested this episode, man, so if you don't like it, get the hell out.
No, it was really good. That's just one of the reasons I really like this episode. Is just a return to that sort of thing.
There's a lot of sweetness. Just watching her cuddle up with this whale who's probably going to die and ultimately does.
Having her read the
touching.
poem, besides the acting and the directing of that scene being pretty spot on, the idea of her reading a poem to the whale just to like keep her company. It's a very, again, I'm going to use this word a lot probably, a very mature way to show what's happening here. Yeah. Whereas I feel like in a lesser, an episode of The Simpsons made with lesser effort, let's put it that way, they would have a dumber way of her to like have this scene of her bonding with the whale.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what, maybe showing pictures of other whales on her Instagram or something. Yeah, I don't know.
Lisa's known for her big Instagram whale account.
Yeah, but you see what I'm trying to say. Whereas having her read Leaves of Grass is not the first thing you would think of.
No, it's not. But it is a very Lisa thing to do.
Exactly, and that's
very
great.
Very fitting.
I feel like my point is, I feel like in a lesser episode and episodes we've seen, they typically would put whatever the first thing they think of is, whether it's an Instagram or not, they would go with whatever the first thing they thought of.
Right, I agree.
They put a little bit more effort into it,
and
it was a wise choice.
And then I was thrown for a loop, because I had never seen this episode. They, she wakes up, and the whale has gone back to the ocean, and it's, like, swimming around,
well,
and
not only
happy.
that, you're going ahead here. So there's, like, an entire team of, like, SEALs, of soldiers that are working together to lift the whale up with helicopters, and they all have a shirt on.
Oh, that was part of the dream too.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, so they have a shirt that says
You're right.
whales, I think, and it's like people helping.
Yeah, I tried to write
whale.
down what it was. Did you get it,
I
Harry?
got.
We
helped airlift Lisa's something soulmate.
Whale, so it would be,
So it would be E.
Eternal? I think it was Eternal.
Maybe.
Whatever it
Anyway,
was.
so it was a really like uplifting moment, and like everybody's working together, and they're doing it.
Right.
And they lift up the whale. I was for a second I thought they were gonna like drop the whale and kill it. And,
I
like,
kind of did too. Yeah, I forgot this is how this sequence started.
I think a very important key aspect here, if I'm not misremembering, is Homer is kind of leading the charge.
Yes,
He's
he
the
was.
one-
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So in
You're
her
right.
dream, this is kind of poignant that she pictured Homer saving the
That's
day.
nice. Yeah.
And it was a really just like uplifting moment. Everybody works together and they pull it off. They lift up the whale.
Yeah.
They drop the whale. Great moment. Then they followed up with the whale swimming in the water, having a great time. That's
Yep.
great. And then
the whale is like swimming in the stars, kind
yeah,
of,
it jumps
which was
up into the
beautifully
air.
animated.
It was
I loved
one
how
of
it
the
looked.
most beautiful images I think I've seen in any
Right.
episode of The Simpsons ever.
And Lisa looks up and she's confused and she's like, "Wait, what?" And then she really wakes up. And
She's leaning against the corpse of the
she's
whale.
leaning against a dead whale, and that's how the act
was
ends. And it was
heartbreaking.
It was very heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Like they really brought us up and brought us right down, and then cut to black.
It was-
end of Act 2.
It was brutal, but not in an exploitative way.
It was earned. They showed the work.
I mean, it was. I mean, I would say maybe definitely top 10, probably top 5, maybe top 3. Like just most heartbreaking moments in Simpsons history.
Yeah,
Up there with
one of the
like,
top
like-
animal moments
like,
for sure.
Maybe up there with Homer saying goodbye to his mother for the first time.
Yeah.
But there's probably a couple other moments there.
That's my desktop background at work. It's
why would you do that to
It's Homer sitting on the car, and then it's like a field
Yeah.
of stars.
That's depressing.
good.
Mine is
Keeps it peaceful.
the Tyrannosaurus Rex from Jurassic Park killing the 2 raptors.
You know, mine is poignant and meaningful, and yours is a badass, awesome scene. So clearly, you win.
Although my desktop right behind us here on the computer is Homer making a circus out of. Oh wow!
Yeah.
I just realized for the longest time at work, I just replaced it with the Jurassic Park one. It was the Close Encounters scene with the spaceship landing behind the mountain.
Yeah.
And I just realized my work
Both
computer and my
Close
home
Encounters.
computer were both Close Encounters.
Yeah.
And I like the movie.
I was just gonna say I actually don't like the movie.
I think it's one of the greatest movies.
Oh no, I'm not a fan of Close Encounters.
Crazy pants.
My desktop background.
What is your desktop background, Harry?
It's actually it's a still from a newer episode. You guys might have covered it, but it's one of the newspaper headlines, and it's local man ruins everything, which is I think is a great. And it's Homer riding backwards on a donkey, holding a American flag, running into a big cake. It's great.
We're like local
awesome.
Harry Ruins podcast.
Oh, I don't agree with that sentiment at all, Jack.
I'm not that local. I live like an hour away.
Actually, why don't we do this, everybody? If you're listening and you have Twitter, hashtag my desktop wallpaper, or is there a better way to say that? I don't
That's a
really
little verbose. How about just hashtag my desktop?
All right,
And tweet it to us.
At Worst Episode Pod.
Yeah, there's lots of great Simpsons stills that you can use as a desktop.
And even if it's not your Simpsons, even if you're
whatever.
doing Close Encounters, which is a great movie,
Well,
or
no, it's
Jurassic
not.
Park, which is also a
Hashtag
great
Team Dan.
movie.
Close Encounter sucks. Everyone, let me know. At Ben Dan Says on Twitter.
I was trying to come up with a good one at work for my thing, and what I ended up doing was setting my screensaver to just be a sliding panoramic of like museum framed photos of hundreds of different movie stills that I couldn't decide between. So now they're all there.
Nice.
So anyway,
Anyway, what were we talking about? Oh, the end of Act 2.
oh yeah, the dream sequence. Yeah, no, it's so easily one of the most heartbreaking moments I think I've ever
Yep.
seen. I came this close. If Harry wasn't here, I probably would have started crying.
If it was just me and you,
yeah.
you would have put your arm around me and started crying.
Just hold me, only if you hold me. No, it was brutal, and like I said, I was really attached to this whale. I was really pulling for the whale, and
Yeah,
I was
same.
kind of half expecting them to do it, and then I fell for the dream. I thought I was like, oh, thank God.
I did too. I wrote down, what is this episode going to be now? And then I was like, oh.
Like, as soon as it jumped in the stars, part of my brain's like, wait a second. Well, actually, the first part of my brain was, this is too early for a Life of Pi spoof.
Oh,
that
yeah,
was the
yeah.
first thought in my head. And then I was like, oh no. And then she woke up, and I was just, I really fell for it. I fall for that all the time. There's a few times where they do the whole, everything looks like it's okay, and then it's a
Right,
dream.
and then pull back.
And
it's a
I think
dream.
6 Feet Under did something similar, and
I watched 6 Feet Under.
spoilers. And
I preferred 5 feet above.
if you haven't seen Gravity, spoilers. There's kind of a similar,
that's true. They do it in
similar
Gravity.
scene where I completely fell for it, and I was like,
me too.
Me too.
Yeah. No, it was brutal for them but like you said, it was completely earned.
When done well, it's a really great narrative device.
It was it was very mature. And the idea of, I mean, there's so much going on there. The idea of it like dancing through the stars, but besides it being beautiful, and it was again like I thought it was a Life of Pi spoof because it was very like neon fluorescent stars. The stars were clinging like water. It was really poetic. Really.
Maybe that's where Ang Lee got the idea.
Should we look this up now? I wonder if this.
We don't look things up on this show.
I wonder if this won any Emmys. This episode.
I will tell you.
I feel like I mean I know we haven't watched a lot from this season, but I feel like that's the one you would want to submit for an Emmy.
Mm-hmm.
It did not.
That's a shame.
As far as I know, it wasn't up for it, and the AV Club only gave it a B.
Who wrote it?
It was written by Mark Kirkland. No, that was the director. It was written by Matt Warburton. I recognize the name.
He's written a lot. Well, it's just really maturely handled, really excellent. God, that was brutal.
Yep. Yeah, it was bad. But then we come back from Act 3. Lisa's obviously devastated, but then is probably the biggest laugh that I had in the episode, where Homer is trying to console Lisa, and Bart walks by, and I forget what he says to Homer. He says something like mocking Homer, and Homer just turns around and goes, "I'm trying to be a sensitive father, you unwanted moron."
It was such an explicit, like Homer's not usually that directly, at least verbally.
You unwanted moron.
And like the delivery was almost out of character.
All of it was pitch perfect.
It was perfect. It was perfect.
It was really, really great moment. Harry, did you like that moment?
I like that moment. I also like right before that when he was consoling Lisa, and he's like, she's lying on God's beach now.
Right, and Lisa's like, he doesn't like lying on beaches.
I was a little like not mad at them undercutting the emotion. I guess theoretically you would have had a commercial break to recompose yourself. But
I mean, it is a comedy show, so
I
should,
but I thought maybe it was a little
lift us back up.
It was a little too soon for that line, but I did out of context. I thought that was a very funny line.
Yeah, agreed. And then they blow up the whale.
Yeah, they blow up the whale, which they do.
This whale died, and now we're going to blow up its corpse, which
I'm really glad
does actually happen.
I was fully expecting this to happen. I'm really glad it didn't. I thought when they blew it up and all the chunks started falling, that one was going to fall on or near Lisa.
That would have been pretty dark.
Kind of like with the meat in the vegetarian episode.
Yeah.
Just to like kind of rub it in her face that
like,
this creature is deader than dead.
Yeah.
I was half expecting them to do that, but I guess they were just really going more for the visual gag of whale chunks landing on things and killing Hans Moleman.
Which was fine. I don't know. It was okay to see like the flaming blubber chunks come down. I don't know. Harry, what did you think of that?
I also liked Quimby. No, it wasn't Quimby. It was Police Chief Wickham being like, "Stand back, everybody, but not too far. You want to see this whale?
We don't want to see this." Yeah. I liked it.
Go around. Don't be shy.
They blow it up, and it was kind of gross. Like, you don't see it graphically, but you still see like half of a whale just laying on the beach.
Yeah, they don't show like the open.
Right, but it's still kind of messed up because we just watched it die, and it was this big emotional moment, and it's like, well, there's half a carcass.
That's what I was saying before. Is I was surprised. I'm not surprised at all. It totally fits the Springfield characters. To
definitely.
Do this. But it was so crass. They really. But I'm not against it. Again, this episode, I guess if it's focusing on something, it's on death. And the finality of death, and
a good lighthearted episode,
and the brutality of death, and that's just to blow this beautiful creature up after it's dead. It worked. It made sense, and to play it for laughs. That's very well done. It's a very big compliment to the show that they can make it work.
Yeah, I mean it's there's the emotional aspect to it, but then there's the practicality of like there's a dead whale on the beach.
Yeah, although
it has to not be there.
It's weird that blowing it up didn't seem to really do much. There still seemed to be plenty of one piece of whale left there.
I guess it's blowing it in half, and then it's easier to push the other half back into the ocean and just kind of leave a dead whale there. Yeah, I don't know.
I thought this is why we had you on, Harry. I thought you were a
whale expert.
They did do that. There's a story that I think Dave Barry wrote about it a long time ago.
Yes, I know about that. You continue.
I thought you'd pick it up. No, then it was
just
Florida.
my podcast. No, yeah.
I did like Dave's World, which was my favorite show.
It's true.
It had the same
callback
music from Will and Grace. Did you ever notice that? The interstitial music in that movie, that shows the exact. Anyway.
Oh wow!
Really?
Gotta go back
check it out. Look, it's on YouTube.
Guys, everyone, take out your Will and Grace DVDs and your Dave's World DVDs. Run them side by side.
Hashtag
Harry says yes.
Yeah, guys, check it out. Hashtag.com. But yeah, there's a Dave Barry column he wrote, I guess, a long time ago. In Florida, they blew up a whale, but they did it wrong, and they whale pieces just rained down on this
Yes.
town. So I think that this is
That was
probably-
definitely what it was referencing. My friend who listens to the show, Rich Blaschka, used to watch that video. There was like video of it. Used to watch it all the time
That's weird.
back when we were in college. Yeah, he's a weird guy. So
Kind of like watching it once is interesting. Watching it over and over, I don't know. It's
well, he did. You know what? Now that you bring it up, he did like watch it alone in a closed room, and he wouldn't let anyone else come in.
I'm watching my whale video. That's my
Hey,
impression
maybe,
of
maybe
Rich,
he
by the
wasn't
way.
watching that whale video, and he just told us he was. Thanks for listening, Rich, and supporting the show.
Tremors did it better, by the way. The whole blowing up a monster and having having the body goo fall.
Tremors did it better than real life, yeah. Damn
By
fiction
the
always
way,
one up in real life.
it occurred to me at some point after they blew the whale up that as much as they really focused on the heartbreaking tale of this poor creature that died, in season 8 in The Old Man and the Lisa, there's clearly a blue whale caught in the slurry net and pulled into Burns' grinder and instantly slaughtered.
Well, it's not Lisa's friend, though. That's the emotional
Oh, that's
stakes.
okay. We
It's
didn't know
fine.
that whale.
Yeah.
That whale didn't have a weak name.
That's why it's funny when violence happens to strangers. It's why I go out there every night. I kind of like, this is just a really, really quick part of the episode where the people of Springfield say they're going to use every part of the whale. And so there's like a quick cut of like, I forget what the stores were, but they were selling like whale perfume and like whale oil. Yeah. And one of them was whalebone corsets. And you see Patty and Selma come out with corsets, you know, like tucked in. And comic book guy comes out wearing a corset and dressed as Captain Kirk. And he says, I look like Kirk in Star Trek 1. And then the corset starts to loosen. Star Trek 2, Star Trek 3, Generations.
And then finally Boston Legal.
And then finally Boston Legal, yes. What did you guys think of that?
Oh, yeah, it's fine. I was fine with it.
I thought it was okay. I wasn't even going to bring it up. I was just like, whatever. But then it occurred to me later on in the episode that they didn't mention Voyage Home, Star Trek 4, which is all about whales.
Oh, wow, great point. Huh.
It seems like if you're gonna go, you're gonna mention
bring Star Trek
half
in.
of the Star Trek movies.
Yeah, good point.
Maybe you tie
I
that
didn't
in
think
somehow.
of that.
Wait, so when you blow up a whale, do they drain the whale oil at first? It does seem like kind of a waste of resources.
Probably. I mean,
I know
I
we
don't
should.
know.
I know we
Harry's
should.
the expert here.
I know we shouldn't use whale oil in modern society, but if the whale's dead and it's there, I feel like it's almost in the whale's honor that you're at least
right.
putting it to
At
good
least it
use.
doesn't go to waste.
Yeah, I don't know how.
I don't think
Stick a
America thinks
straw
that way
in,
anymore, Jack.
Whale oil. I mean, we lived on that shit for a while, right?
I did. Growing up, I ate nothing but whale blubber.
Was that whale thing a montage? Did they do a second montage?
It was a quick montage of showing like how Springfield was using the whale that ended with the comic book guy bit, which I liked, by the way. I did like the comic book.
We got that impression.
Well, you may have gotten the impression, but you didn't get the literal words of me saying, "Hey, I like that Captain Kirk bit." I don't want there to be any doubt.
Ambiguity.
Every listener needs to know. Did Dan like that Captain Kirk bit?
Now you
Yes,
know.
yes,
Now
I
you know.
did. Hashtag liked the bit.
No, don't hashtag that.
Please do.
Hashtag please hashtag like the
I
bit.
want you guys. Let's have another Twitter campaign. If you think Dan's really lying and he's being kind of defensive about it, and he clearly didn't like the Kirk bit, put
your money where your mouth is, Twitterverse.
So after that, Homer's trying to cheer Lisa up, and he gets her an invisible dog collar.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's like a dog leash that's hard
then-
plastic instead of an actual leash.
then
It's
in
like
a
an invisible dog.
Fairly extended gag. The gag is that Homer thinks it's a real dog. Or doesn't think it's a real dog, but it's like biting him, and he's
He
yelling
like
at
pretends it for it to be a real dog, and
kind
then he's
of-
like, "Oh, it's biting me! I'm
Yeah,
taking
he
it
kind of like
outside."
convinces himself it's real, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
It was really stupid. I hated it. I thought it was one of the unfunniest bits in that
What'd you
episode.
think, Harry?
Well, then
did
he
you
takes
hate it?
I didn't hate it. He took it. I liked when he took it outside. I actually
Same.
didn't mind that.
Yeah, I also like that. He takes it outside, and he's like, I don't even remember what it was. I just know that I liked it.
There's a car goes by and he's like being pulled.
Oh,
by
right,
the
right.
thing. And it's just really quick. He goes, "Bad dog, no!"
Yeah, I did like that. But that was that's another of this new joke that we're talking about, where that's long setup that's not great, and then like quick bit that we do kind of like,
Well,
or at least Harry and I.
Yeah,
do.
to be unambiguous, just make it clear. Hashtag Jack hated that joke.
All right.
Every part of it.
Just so good at hashtags. It's crazy.
I'm the best at hashtagging.
Hashtag Jack's the best at hashtagging.
Hashtag, I still call it pound sign.
Hashtag pound sign.
Hashtag tic-tac-toe, the terrible movie.
.com.
Because the hashtag is an italic tic-tac-toe board.
I think that's more than 140 characters.
Oh, what?
Do you know how Twitter works? Never mind. Let's move on.
This podcast has 140 characters, am I right? hashtag too many graphics.
That was good. Sometimes you got a good one.
That was one of those really extended setups for that.
That's exactly right.
Did the memes justify the end?
They did. That was last week, wasn't it?
Homer's not the only one that's trying to cheer Lisa up. Also, a mime tries to cheer her up by making a... Well, actually, everything is reminding her of
Right.
the whale.
She goes through town and hears like Martin's getting a wedgie and his noise is like a whale moan.
Yeah,
Moe's
they're-
door was squeaky and that sounded like a whale moan.
Oh, that's what that was at first. I understood that she... Like sensed the. I thought for a second I thought she sensed the whale, and it was because he was using the whale oil.
I thought that too,
to
but no.
grease the door, and she I don't know, smelled the whale. I don't know how she knew the whale oil was the whale, and I thought she was gonna flip out that they were using the whale. In such mundane ways. I thought that's where it was going. I'm glad it didn't.
That's what I thought when I saw Moe had oil, but then I was like, oh, it's just the door.
Anyway, this mime. This mime makes her a blue balloon whale.
Yeah.
But it pops
right in her hands.
Much in the way, and I'm assuming this isn't a coincidence. This is intentional that it blows up in the same way that the whale blew up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, in her hands.
Yeah. So again, another great, clever.
Very good.
I mean, I doubt that was planned ahead of time. That might have just been. Or maybe it was.
Oh no, that was definitely planned. That's a specific callback.
Sometimes when you're writing a script, it just writes itself. You're just like, oh, this is a perfect time if we have a pop.
Well, planned or not, I mean, it makes sense, and I thought that was great. It was kind of dark, but it kind of worked. It was funny.
And then they followed up with another great gag that I don't think was extra beat at all. I think it was a good follow up where he then makes a balloon violin and plays the violin for her, which works A because he's making a second balloon and it's funny, and B the sound of the balloon bow and the balloon violin rubbing against each other is a funny sound.
Right, it also sounds like whales.
Very well together.
But yeah, I like that the kids of the whale's children, presumably the whale's children. We don't know. Lisa just kind of makes it up.
She makes a lot of. She assumes the whale's a girl. She assumes it's their kids,
right,
and then later.
And then assumes later that the whale's father has come.
Yeah.
Yeah. What if it was
It could just be 3 autonomous whales.
Or like a creepy pedophile whale that's just taking advantage of these 2 orphans now.
Hey, where were those kid whales?
Hashtag pedophile whales aren't funny.
Yeah, they're not. I don't know why. I feel bad doing that voice.
That's not going to be added to the list of running characters on the show.
Well, it is a callback. We talked about a pedophile. I did that voice, and people actually called us out that we made fun of we didn't make fun of. We criticized the Simpsons episode for doing a pedophilia joke. I don't remember what it was at this point because I forget these things as soon as we're done recording them. And I saw this somewhere that they were criticizing us for also making pedophile jokes. Yeah. So. We're hypocrites. I don't know. What do you want?
Pedophile
it's a free podcast.
Pedophile jokes are funny when there's no specific kids being around to be pedophiled.
That's a verb form.
You don't want Bart, Lisa, or whatever Simpsons characters in that case. You don't want to see them be pedophiles. Yeah. But hashtag pedophiles out of work.
Cut all that. That's for the deleted scenes.
At worst episode pod. Hashtag just pedophiles. Let's see what we get. Let's see what turns up.
I'm not put that out there.
Maybe don't do that. That's like when I asked people to send pictures of dicks and then told them not to.
So many did.
All we got was one person tweeted a picture of Richard Nixon. So that was good. Good on you.
What about the hundreds of photos of penises I've been getting?
That's for your personal collection, Jack. That's autonomous of the podcast.
Hashtag Jack is Lampias.
So... Lisa sees these young whales, and they're suddenly surrounded by sharks. That's the end of Act 3, and then we're into Act 4. And I like it. Homer comes in to try and help Lisa save the day and scare the sharks off from these whales. He's got a harpoon, and he wants to kill the sharks, and a bunch of Greenpeace-type people, I think they were called sea huggers, come in and stop them and say, oh, sharks are animals too, it's not right to kill the shark to save the whale.
I'm surprised Lisa didn't take that stance earlier.
Exactly what I was going to say.
I think you can justify it in this episode in that she's still so, in grief and cares so much about these whales that she's almost not even thinking about it. She's just like, yeah, of course, we got to protect the whales. She doesn't even think of killing the sharks as killing the sharks.
Well, once the Greenpeace people come in, Lisa kind of realizes, oh, they're right. We shouldn't kill the sharks, which I liked.
Yeah.
Harry liked it too.
I also like when Homer showed up. She's like, "Where'd you get this boat?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm test driving it on the boat the boat store."
How many times has Homer test drove a vehicle
just
at this
stolen
point? I'm just taking it.
I like it.
So Lisa is Lisa realizes she doesn't want the sharks to die either. Homer fires the harpoon, but she knocks it out of the way just in time.
Yes.
And neither of them notice that the harpoon goes and blows up a seagull.
That was great.
That was a great gag. And again, it's kind of a dark, brutal joke in an episode where they just made such a big deal about another creature dying.
Right. But who cares about seagulls?
But it's funny. Again, it's a testament to the show that they can make that joke be hilarious and not have you go, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's funny.
I liked it.
They really did balance the drama and the humor in this episode very, very well.
Yeah. I forget how it happens, but Homer falls out of the boat at one point. Was that just they're trying to... He was drunk, that's what it was. He was pounding him back, and he's like, look what I can do, and he fell in the water. I don't remember. I think he just fell somehow.
Yeah.
And then the sharks start circling him. And there was a moment I really liked. Again, this episode visually was fantastic. She says, maybe you look like a baby whale to the sharks. And then we see a shot from from the ocean floor looking at Homer on the surface. And he's animated to look like a baby whale. Like he has like flippers.
Yeah.
And you see all the sharks like circling him.
He kind of looked more like a walrus to me, to be honest.
Well, is there a difference? Wait a minute. Walruses evolve into whales, right? It's like a Pokemon type thing.
It's exactly like how
you get a sea stone and it evolves a walrus into a whale.
It's exactly like how in Tremors the graboid lays an egg.
Right.
The egg hatches into like one of those little two-legged ones that can see with thermal vision.
Yep.
They grow wings and become the unfortunately named ass blasters. Yeah. And then the ass blasters lay the egg. That's right. Right. That's right. The ass blasters lay the egg that becomes the graboid. The graboid lives for a few months and then dies, and 3 thermal two-leggers come out of its body. Unless it's an albino graboid or sterile, so it just stays a graboid for its lifespan.
Huh. Can we spend more time talking about the Tremors life cycle? I've seen Tremors once, and it was at your house in 1998. Probably
it's one of the best movies of all time.
I really like those movies. I haven't seen them in a while.
I'm very impressed that you know about the Ass Blasters.
Thanks,
that's the direct-to-DVD Tremors 3, Back to Perfection.
Okay, there's the title of the episode. I'm very impressed that you knew about the Ass Blasters. Hashtag Harry says yes.
Hashtag Harry says yes, Ass Blasters.
Anyway, I like the animation.
They can chemically produce a lighter fluid, and they fart it, and they fart fire, which shoots them up about 60 feet in the air, and then they have wings that can't fly, but they can glide off their fart
I don't remember
propulsion.
this at all. I rewatched Tremors.
It's kind of like burp power.
Yeah.
There you go, tying it back. So then Homer is he's in the water. They hit him in the head at one point, and he's bleeding. And he's like, maybe this blood will scare the sharks off, and obviously it doesn't.
I have a question.
Whatever.
I was trying to answer my own question while we were watching.
You said Montauk's.
A decent amount of blood comes out of Homer's head and spills in the water. Did the classic years, the earlier years, did they show blood as frequently or as much?
I don't
they
think
had
so.
to be times where they showed some blood, right?
Mostly in Halloween episodes, they definitely
course,
would.
Yeah.
But I think generally they didn't. It's not a very gory show, except when eyeballs are popping out, like last week.
But even that was so cartoony. It was kind of weird to see like blood coming out of Homer's head.
It was a lot, yeah. All right,
Homer will die one day. And it'll be by my hand.
Jesus. Hashtag Dan Mulholland's going to kill Dan Castellaneta.
I didn't say Dan Castellaneta. Whoa.
Well, it's too late. It's in the hashtag.
Dan Castellaneta is the voice of Earthworm Jim, my friend, and I would never.
It's too late. Once it's in hashtag form, it's untenable.
By the rules of hashtag law, I am undone.
That's how the gays can get married now. They just put it in the hashtag. And now they can marry in any state they want.
That's right.
That's why everybody, like the conservatives, are mad it wasn't properly legislated. It just went through hashtag.
Why did we let Twitter replace all laws? I don't think that was a good idea.
Because somebody hashtagged it. Somebody hashtagged it and said Twitter is now all law.
That's what it is. Hashtag Twitter is now all law.
It's a self-fulfilling hashtag.
Oh, man. Those are the worst.
You'll get those, though. It happens.
So Homer's saved by this bigger whale that comes, and Lisa assumes is the father of these baby whales. And that's kind of it. There was one more beat, but that was it for like the shark thing. Like Homer's just saved. The sharks don't attack this big whale. I guess they just leave.
It was like a token scene of suspense.
It's like a Deus Ex.
It's kind of like a token scene of suspense they just throw in because they feel they need some kind of action thing to end it. The Bonfire of the Manatees did the exact same thing, where the episode was ostensibly about Marge and her relationship to Homer. And they just threw in this scene where they have to save some manatees from jet skis.
This episode is kind of Bonfire of the Manatees done well.
Yeah.
It's very very similar.
They both do have sea.
It's Lisa instead of Marge, but it's still at the end. Homer is like saving the day.
I think most episodes, especially in the post-classic, have this like just token action scene that they have to have just to like they feel like
Yeah,
it just gives
to
the
close out
episode
the
some
show.
kind of like there's the Canyon Arrow episode, which is about
Oh, right, with
Marge
the
and her road rage,
rhinos.
but then she has to rescue Homer from the rhinos.
Right.
There seems to be every other episode or so. There's like somebody has to be rescued from some kind
Yeah.
of.
Well, that kind of made
situation.
sense because she needed her road rage to fight off this physical threat to her
Yeah,
family.
yeah.
And this one I liked because Homer was, couldn't protect Lisa from the whales, and now he's trying, and he can't protect her from sharks or protect himself, I guess. And then a whale is going to save Homer.
Yeah.
Like it all ties together in a neat little package.
It's the third episode in a row we brought that runner back.
Yes, we have.
It's a great line. It is.
It is. And then the episode ends with the families on the beach, and they're talking about the whale, and it was okay. Homer says, "Oh, I'm sure the whale will be fine. He's gonna marry a nice octopus. He's got 2 kids. He's widowed. They're gonna move in together and buy a house. Blah blah." He goes on to
it goes
create
on
this
forever.
whole like fiction about this whale single father.
Yeah.
Did you guys like that?
I didn't like that, but I liked.
Yeah, I didn't exactly.
Yeah, I didn't like it, and then they later
Where
comes
it goes.
back. Yeah.
Marge says, "Let's all draw pictures of your father's story tonight," and then the end credits are like these
Yeah.
like kind of children's drawings
Yeah. So
of a
that's-
whale and an octopus getting married.
That whole ending I thought was beautiful.
That was great, yeah.
Beautiful, and just as maybe almost as, if not just as beautiful as the dream sequence, where
Yeah.
it ends with a beautiful sunset and the whales frolicking in the water, and they're
Yep.
all safe, and it's very pretty, and the Beyond the Sea is playing. And it's just very, very sweet. And then that transitions into the end credits, and the first few titles of the end credits are played over these drawings, which show, like you said, they're the kids' drawings, and it's adorable. The art style, the animation style is adorable. And it's these drawings of the whale remarrying with the squid, and having a whale squid baby, and then having a family. And then you actually see like their entire lives. Like it ends with their 50th anniversary.
Yeah,
and
that's
they're
the last
old.
one.
It reminded me of the 6 Feet Under finale, where they do a extended flash forward for to wrap up the series to see everybody's. So it just
Oh, yeah, I heard
yeah
about
it
that.
just it kind of reminded me of that. It was really sweet and poignant. I was fine. I was surprised at how moved I was by it. So I do
A
like
squid
it.
and an octopus, or a squid and a
Although jumping back when again the means justifying the end, I was so bored when Homer was just talking it all out. It's just like, oh, shut up already.
But I do think it was worth it to get that
totally.
ending.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Any
that's
other points?
Yeah,
with Squid
that
and the Whale?
said,
Squid and the
so
Whale?
obviously we all were pretty on this episode
Yeah.
compared to the usual crap we watch. I do think, I don't know, there was something missing for this episode in general that really keeps me from really loving it. I feel like I don't know. I just don't know what this episode was trying to say or do. So is it,
What's the point of this
yeah,
episode?
so is it
What's the
about
message?
Lisa coping with death, which we've seen in a better episode with Bleeding Gums Murphy when he dies.
True.
And that's really that's specifically about her coming to terms with mortality and death, and in a specific way, losing a close friend. That's done way better than her losing this whale that she was attached to for a few days. And again, this episode, I think my biggest problem with it is it's less focused. It's kind of about that. It's also, again, like Lisa the Pony, it's kind of about Homer trying to be there for his daughter, and he can't because these are bigger issues than a father can do.
Yeah.
And it's also about him just trying to help her with her grief, and it's about I can't quite what is this? I don't know what it was. Is it really more about Homer being there for Lisa or not being able to be there for Lisa?
I guess it's a story about Lisa kind of growing up. In a loose sense. I mean, I agree it's not quite focused on that the whole way through, but that's kind of where it ends up.
I don't think every episode has to have a bigger, larger theme to it.
Yeah.
And in a very small, specific way, if this is just strictly a story about Lisa finding this whale, becoming attached to it, and then dealing with its death, I think it's a very solid story, but I do think it is lacking a focused, larger theme that would elevate this episode to the Bleeding Gums Murphy episode, which is just like a really beautiful, I think that the reason that episode is so superior isn't just because of the more classic style writing and humor, but because it also had a little bit more oomph behind it. I feel like this episode was just lacking a little. Again, the climax is him rescuing the whales from some sharks, which is tied into him trying to be there for Lisa, but it's also just like, just a rote action scene. I don't know.
Right. I'll say, you keep bringing up the Bleeding Gums episode. I will say that's probably one of my least favorite classic episodes.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine. I agree.
I feel like
it handles the death well.
people don't like that episode because it's a Lisa episode and people
No,
just
I
kinda
love
out
Lisa
on,
episodes.
On the humor.
I don't think that episode is especially funny. And I kind of agree that this episode has the same, not so much a problem. Like, I think
Yeah.
this is a really, really good episode. We're going to get to the ranking in a moment. But I think the lowest rating I'm going to give this episode is going to be in humor.
Yeah.
Like, there weren't a lot of laugh-out-loud things in this episode,
So,
which we'll talk about when we're actually...
No, I agree that Bleeding Gums Murphy might not be quite as funny. I think it's a lot funnier than this episode.
I agree with that.
And I agree that this episode was probably weakest in humor, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But if you're taking the humor out of the equation, I still think the Bleeding Gums Murphy, because it's more focused, and you know exactly what they're trying to say about Lisa and what story they're trying to tell,
right.
that makes it a stronger episode than this.
There's a bigger takeaway in that episode,
exactly.
Sure.
There's a bigger takeaway for sure. And again, I'm just not really clear what the writers were trying to do. If it's a very specific story about Lisa and this whale, then it's A+. But I feel like it, especially with Homer in there, and then the trying to give some kind of meaning to that shark scene. I don't know. I feel like there's a few things going on here.
I think that if it has a failing, it also is sort of something that's really good about it is that it's rare that an episode in the newer seasons try to like tell an emotional story, especially about Lisa and Homer, that kind of thing. Like I think that it's real. I think they must have said we should try and do an episode that is like the way like a Bleeding Gums Murphy episode, or like something that.
Like a throwback episode almost.
Yeah, like we let's do the kind of episodes we used to do when the show had heart. For whatever reason they managed to pull it off. And I think if it feels a little hollow, it's probably because they came at it that way, like thinking let's try and do an episode like we used to do. And then maybe something got a little lost in that, but I still think overall, like if they would just try to do this sort of thing more often, we would have a lot better episodes overall.
Yeah, it would be a lot harder to lump the newer episodes into a much clearer category of shit.
Dad, the sharks must think you're a baby whale.
Ooh, a baby whale. My diet is working.
It is the Squirt and the Whale. It's time to rank this episode. We'll do that on our 4-factor test. We're looking at the humor. We're looking at the integrity. We're looking at the production, and we're looking at the originality. And the humor and integrity are weighted more. So here we go. We're gonna put some time on the clock. Squirt and the Whale, 0 to 5 scale. Harry, you're our guest. Humor of this episode. What do you got?
I agree that the humor is probably not the best part of it, but there's a lot to laugh. I like to laugh. There are a lot of laughs in it.
There is. I like the tic-tac-toe stuff. Mm-hmm. I liked the Homer saying you what was it? You ignorant moron? You unwanted moron, of course.
Yeah. There's like a lot of little things like that I liked. I didn't mind I liked even the like meta lines, like on to the next funny booth. Like I liked all that stuff. I laughed. I'm gonna give it a 3.5.
Ooh, high. I'm gonna go straight down the middle. Actually, I'm gonna say 2.5.
I'm really torn between 2 and 2.5.
Okay.
I keep going
but
back and forth.
You're in the same area.
Yeah.
The integrity of this episode. What are we thinking? Are the characters acting like themselves? Like, is this kind of a classic-ish episode?
Yeah, Lisa's very solid. I don't think the story really gives opportunities to any of the other characters to be more, to be in character. I guess besides Homer.
Yeah.
As for Homer, I guess him trying to be. He wasn't jerk-ass Homer.
No,
so that's
there was
huge.
no jerk-ass Homer.
There was jerk-ass Bart.
There
was jerk-ass Bart.
There was some jerk-ass Bart. You're right.
So I'll deduct a few points for jerk-ass Bart. So I'll say 3.
Really? Okay. What would you say, Harry?
I'm gonna go 3.5 again.
I'm actually gonna go pretty high. I'm gonna go 4.
Ooh.
I was thinking 4, and maybe I should knock it down to 3.5 for the Bart.
It's a sweet episode, and I'm gonna give it points here for that.
Okay.
The production of this episode, I'm going real high on this one. But what do you guys have to say? We really liked a lot of this animation. I want to know what Harry has to say. I know he says yes, but what else does he say?
I do say yes. HarrySaysYes.com, available on iTunes. I'm gonna go 4. It was beautiful. I loved it a lot.
What do you got, Jack?
You know what?
Jack says no.
Maybe
.org.
hashtag. Maybe I'll give it a 4.5. The highest I think I've ever given anything in any category.
I think you're right, and I'm also going to give it a 4.5. I'm tempted to give it a straight up 5 because what does a 5 look like to me, or for production values? Maybe the one with Johnny Cash, that would probably be a 5 as far as production goes.
Maybe more visual gags.
Yeah. I'm going to give it 4.5 now. I may change that to an actual 5. It would be our first 5 ever, so that would be a big deal. And the originality of the episode. That's a thing
it's
that we also
not
have
an
to
original
rank.
episode by any means. It's the Bleeding Gums Murphy. It's Bart the Mother.
It's Lisa's Pony.
Lisa's
It's a lot
Pony.
of...
Did I say Lisa the Pony before?
You did. And I was gonna comment, but I didn't want to derail your point. I would love to see an episode where Lisa turned into a pony.
Be careful what you wish for, man. That is probably on its way.
27.
Good thing we forgot to turn on the timer.
Yeah. We'll add more time on the clock. The originality of this episode. It's not very original. We've seen like animal episodes like this before. We've seen Lisa dealing with grief, blah, blah, blah. We've seen Homer and Lisa's relationship tested. But it's done well, and it's well written, it's well structured, so I don't want to go too low. I'm thinking maybe 3.5, 3.5 area. Am I way off? What do you got, Jack?
So, I'm going to take away some points for the originality. Structurally speaking, I think there is a bit of a problem. I think they spent too much time on the wind turbine. In another funnier episode, I probably would overlook this, but since the episode was very character-based and so focused on Lisa and the whale, I think it should have happened a little sooner.
I don't know that I agree with you on that.
I'm not. Like not a big issue. I'm taking away maybe a half point for this. I think it could have been a little bit tighter, a little bit better. It's not fundamentally broken. I'm wavering between a 2.5 and a 3. I think there's just a lot of things.
Time's running out. I only had an extra minute.
There's a lot of things I want to give it points for, but I think I gave him those points in the production. Like
right.
The dream sequence was very well timed. I'm a little unsure of whether to put that in the production or the original. Fuck it. I'll put them in both. I'll give it 3.5.
All right, 3.5 it is.
Harry, how about you?
I'm gonna go 4.
All right.
Okay.
He went 4. Okay, we have crunched the numbers, and the Squirt and the Whale, as unsurprisingly to me, ranked pretty highly on our list. It is now our 3rd least worst episode ever. It is a better episode than The Principal and the Pauper from Season 9, and it is a slightly worse episode than Bart's New Friend from Season 26.
I'm a little surprised. I honestly thought this might have been our new least worst episode ever. Because... Well,
we were low on the humor. I think if this was a funnier episode, but managed to keep the heart, it would have been.
Because the way our ranking system is structured is the humor and the integrity. Really, you'd need to nail both categories to do well on this list.
Yep.
And it was lacking in humor.
Our algorithm is very sophisticated.
Although I feel like, in retrospect, I think we were too easy on Bart's New Friend. I don't remember anything about that episode. I keep for some reason thinking it's the Paul Rudd episode. It's not.
That is way down on the list. That episode.
I don't know.
That's one of our worst.
It's just kind of bland in my memory, but it is what it is. That's what the numbers are for.
Well, no one cares about your memories.
Hashtag nobody cares about Jack's memories.
So that is it for this episode of Worst Episode Ever. If you have a Simpsons episode that you would like to suggest that we watch, a bad one, a good one, whatever you want, a mediocre one, we got a lot of those. You can do that on our website. There's a form you can fill out. It's wepodcast.com. While you're there, you can read show notes, you can listen to the show, download old episodes. And while you're at wepodcast.com, please click through our Amazon links and help support the show that way if you like what you're hearing. And also tell your friends.
If you're a dog, click on your sausage links.
Nope. I'm not following you into that bit. If you're a dog, click on your sausage links.
So if you're a dog, you can click on your sausage links.
People eat sausage links too. It's not just cartoon dogs eating. All right, it's getting late. We're getting out of here. Harry, if people want to listen to you, where can they go?
Thanks for asking. You can listen to my podcast. It's at harrysays.yes.com. You guys are on episode 51. That might be a good one to start with.
Okay, that's a solid one
Check
to go
it out. That's a good stuff.
We talked a lot about high school bowling, if I remember correctly.
If I remember, we just spoke over Harry most of the time.
Yeah.
So
we would never do that though. Now when we have him on our show.
harrysays.yes.com. It's fine. I'm also on Twitter at HCNelson if you're interested in that sort of stuff. Pretty funny tweets, guys. Check them out.
So Twitter-heavy episode.
I'm biased because I was on the show. It was a very funny podcast, so you guys should check it out.
That was really good. If you want to hear us, if you want to follow us on Twitter, I'm at ThenDanSays.
I'm at hashtag Jackie No Breaks.
No hashtag, just Jackie No Breaks.
At sign Jackie No Breaks.
And of course, the official Worst Episode Ever Twitter is at Worst Episode Pod. Next week, coming back, we're doing another episode, and we are going to do Season 16's Homer and Ned's Hail Mary Pass. This is a very, very heavily requested episode, so it should be terrible. Looking forward to that, so watch that on Simpsons World in the meantime. And I think that's it.
Well, yeah, if you want to submit your cats, you know what that is. Just check out the website if you don't know what that is. We'll use them from time to time. We still have some left. And
yes, we want our listeners to submit their cut all this. Just say cut all this in whatever manner you'd like. And today... As a change
today
of
we're
pace,
not going to use
we're not going to use a listener one. Sorry, guys.
Save
but
them
send
for
them in.
a later date. Today we're going to have Mr. Harry Nelson wrap up the show.
Give us your cut on this.
However, Harry's going to wrap it up.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me on the podcast. Jack Pacone here, and of course Dan Montague. Wait, what is it?
Dan Montauk.
Go ahead and cut all this. That's fine.
On July 4th, it's your move. Producer Adventures of Dr. Goose, Got Your Nose, and One Day in the Life of Ivan Denisovich.